Well, Bev, Japan is a major player in the Pacific. They're the second largest aid donor, just ahead of New Zealand and behind Australia, and they have the second largest diplomatic presence in the Pacific. So purely from a personal selfish reason, the Pacific is very important to Japan. It is its neighbourhood and they share a lot of ocean resources. In fact, around 40% of the tuna that Japanese eat here comes from the exclusive economic zones of the Pacific Islands. So it's very much in Japan's national interest to have good relations with Pacific Islands. But another broader concern that's been coming out of Japan, particularly the last 2 years, is concerns over China entering the space and concerns over whether the islands will end up being more fragmented. Obviously, there was the highly publicised deal between China, this so-called secretive security deal with the Solomon Islands last year, and that really elevated Japan's concerns about the future of the Pacific and what they want to do, which is very similar to what Australia wants, which is to work within the multilateral framework, the Pacific Islands Forum, and try and have the forum as unified as possible to keep, I guess, power in numbers, essentially. And today we saw that unity on things like climate change. The Pacific Islands have repeatedly said that that's their number one security concern, and Japan completely acknowledges that and agrees that more needs to be done to tackle climate change. From a security perspective, obviously this is where the China question comes in. Japan did get in a final statement that, you know, they want to respect sovereignty of the Pacific Islands and that the force should not be used to unilaterally change the status quo. That's a line you hear a lot from Japan, and it stems from the fact that Japan is concerned what happened to Ukraine may happen to Taiwan in the future. Now, this is an interesting time now because of that, because in the United States we've obviously had the Republican conference going on. We've just got Trump's vice president nominee, J.D. Vance, and he's made it clear, for instance, he doesn't see that America should be supporting Ukraine, and he wants the United States to pivot to Asia. So that's one of the questions, because Japan is very firm that it is against what Russia has done in Ukraine, but is concerned about Taiwan. We put this position to Penny Wong about Trump's now running partner for the presidency, whether the Australian government had concerns about that the US may abandon Ukraine to pivot to Asia. This is what you have to say.
As a matter of principle, the reason we have been supportive of Ukraine's fight is because we believe, as a country that does rely on the rule of law, the international rule of law, that it is important that all countries of the world do stand against Russia's illegal and immoral invasion of Ukraine. It is an abrogation of the UN Charter. So that principle basis for Australia's view on Ukraine is someone I've said publicly many times.
And James, of course, the issue of releasing water from the Fukushima site has been a bit of a contentious one for Pacific nations. Has there been any movement to an agreement here?
Well, yes, as I say, there might be a lot of agreement between Japan and the Pacific Islands Forum nations on a range of things, but Fukushima is still a sticking point. This was a highly controversial move by Japan to release treated and diluted wastewater that they say is well within the safety standards, that it's so safe you could drink it if it weren't the fact that it's salt water. And there has been movement. Cook Islands, Papua New Guinea, for instance, in the past have expressed their support for the move, but then quickly pulled it back because they hadn't established a unified position in the PIF forum. We still don't have a result in that, and you could see that both sides have tried to push through some of these disagreements with the statements today, but all we've got today is that they're going to continue this dialogue. So it's still a highly sensitive issue, the fact that Japan is still releasing this treated wastewater from the stricken Fukushima nuclear power plant. No agreement just yet, Bev.
So, James, what's next for the forum?
Well, a busy couple of months now for the forum. Obviously, they go in a few weeks. They're meeting up again at the end of August. But before that happens, they're actually trying to get into New Caledonia. Now, this is a question we put to Mark Brown, who's the Prime Minister of the Cook Islands and the chair of the Pacific Islands Forum now. Obviously, there's been a lot of concerns, particularly from the Melanesian Spearhead Group, about what was meant to be the third and final independence vote in New Caledonia. And there's been a lot of concerns about how that that was conducted and that there should be another independence referendum ahead. Mike Brown says the broader PIF shares those concerns. So what they're doing now is they're actually speaking to France to try and send a high-level delegation to New Caledonia. And they're not wasting any time. When we pushed Mark Brown on a time frame, he said he wants this PIF delegation to get into New Caledonia within weeks before late August, when the PIF is due to meet up again.
Yeah, that's interesting. Good to talk to you, James. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Bev.